Alright, in this lesson we're going to be learning how to access Jupyter Notebooks, which will be an easier way for us to write programs in as well as to save our progress so that we don't lose everything when we exit Anaconda. So first of all, I am going to open up Anaconda to access Jupyter Notebooks, and so right here I have my Anaconda 3. Go down and click on the prompt. This is kind of small, especially for doing a walkthrough, so I'm going to change the size and go down to where it says Properties. We could also do this in Defaults. I'll go ahead and do it in Defaults. In Defaults, it should change it from now to all the times in the future. No guarantees. I'm going to switch to 28, which is quite large, but that's perfect for us, I think. And let's see if I close out. Will that open that way again? Yes, there we go. So once you reopen Anaconda prompt, if you change the defaults, then you should see a larger size prompt, which is perfect for us. You'll want to check and see what your mapped network drive is for Python programming class. So for instance, if I go into this one, I can go to where I have my Python programming right here. It's mapped, it's the Y drive. So that letter there is the drive letter that I'm looking for. And so to change drives, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to type Y:, hit enter. I am now in the root of the Y drive here. And I'm going to say cd space. And you're going to type your username for your folder that you created. It actually doesn't matter if you type capitals or lowercase when you're doing things in the prompts. It will matter later when we're programming. So I'm just going to say my username here. You, of course, would type whatever your folder is that you have. And then once I'm in that folder, I can type dir to look at the directory. And I want to go to where it says daily work. So I'm going to do cd space daily work. And I could have in the last folder activated Jupyter Notebooks. I'm going to do it in this folder now. So I'm going to do Jupyter Jupyter Notebooks, like so. I think I actually want just Jupyter Notebook. That was my bad. So I just retype it, Jupyter Notebook. And it's processing. Give it a moment. Okay. And there we go. And it's popping open a web browser. If it doesn't pop open a web browser for you, feel free to let me know. I can help you with that. Sometimes it has a sign-in thing that wants you to go through. And you'll notice that up at the very top it says localhost, has 4 times in a row there, /tree. And we can see these are the things that were in that folder. If I opened up in the folder before that, then I would see my directory folders, and I could go into those for this. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. And here I'm going to do Control C to end this process in that window. Doesn't want to end. I could just exit out of it too and then restart. I don't think when I'm doing this on here, it's letting me do the shortcuts that I want to do. So I'm just going to close it out, and we will open it again. And I'm only doing this just to show you how the directories look different, so you're kind of familiar with it. So I'm going to go and change to my Y:, here, enter, and I'm going to type in cd space and my username here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and run Jupyter Notebooks from this point. So I'm going to do Jupyter and notebook. And it'll again run all the information there, and we get the server. Now I can see the folders that I have. So if you have things in these other ones, this might be an easier way to get to everything. So I'm going to go ahead and click on where it says daily work. I can see my folders here. You can also see this one has the 2 dots icon for going up a folder. Okay. If I want to create something totally new, I could go over to here and I could upload a project, or I could click on the new drop down. Python 3 is what we would normally do for our Jupyter Notebooks, but since I already provided you with a template, we're going to go into where it says daily work, and I'm going to go into this one, Pi number 005, Jupyter Introduction, and I'm going to go ahead and use this to kind of fill up the window here. And you'll see here I have this box that is in blue, and that's just saying that that's active at the moment. You could double click into them to edit things. If you hit Shift and Enter, it'll take you down to the next one. If you hit Escape, usually you can get the into there. Double click works really well. And you can see my markdown language for this. Just basically that's where I write the directions and how it's formatted so it gets the look that it has when you see it. Control Enter will keep you in the same box as you run it. That'll also work for your code. So in here we have basically boxes that have the directions and the stuff that you're going to be doing. In this assignment you're going to be looking at variables, strings, integers, and floats. Just roughly, we'll get more in depth as we go through our programming lessons. And here we talk about syntax, the idea that the order is very important. You always have your variable name. Equals is an assignment of what the value is. Okay, so you have something you want to call it, the box that contains that item, and this is saying that item is going to be in that box. Okay, so that's kind of the concept that we're dealing with assigning variables. And so as you go down, I'll get to where we have a little bit of code here. And let me scroll down just a little bit. So here I have some Python code I have comments in here. Those are denoted by the pound symbol. Okay, and then we have assignment of 3 variables, and then I have the print of those variables. I see that output right there. And so in here, I'm going to go through several examples of things, including some error messages and things that you might see, ways of addressing those. So for those of you who were having difficulty with the last lesson that we had, where we had something very similar to this, a little bit more complex structure, this is easier to go back and edit. In this case, I intentionally wanted the error here so you could see why it's doing that. And again, we'll be looking at those more as we go in the next lesson. So you guys will be opening this, you'll be going through. To go from box to box, you Shift Enter, you need to read the instructions and go through it. I'm going to go ahead and go to File and New Notebook, Python 3, and just highlight some things in here for you guys really quick. So first of all, when you guys type a snippet of code in here, we always want to document that code by doing comments. Okay, and so I'm going to say new variables. Okay, new variables for test program, and then we're going to say let's do math problem. It's really important that when you declare a variable, you don't do a space between them. Otherwise, you're telling it that you're trying to declare more than one variable. And I'm going to say equals, and let's say A plus B. Now, problem is I haven't declared A plus B, so I should get an error if I run this. So if I do Shift and Enter, and I get an error, and it says name A is not defined. Well, if I go above this comment and go up here, and I can say, well, A Let's put a comment in first. So variables numbers. And it's important to remember that even though our error is only pointing out one problem here, it's saying that A is not defined. Well, if I define A, and let's say A equals 5, okay, and I do Shift Enter to run it again, now it's saying, well, name B is not defined. So you need to make sure you define all of your variables. And let's say 4, I'm going to do space there. Extra lines are good to separate out things, especially for comments, to make it clear. I like to do spaces between the pound or hashtag symbol and the comments, just so that it's a little bit clear. The idea for comments is for other people to be able to navigate your program easily and understand what you're doing. Okay, so if I do Shift Enter and I get, okay, so math problem equals A plus B, I don't get any outputs right now because I don't have anything happening. If I go down here and I say, let's call math problem variable. Okay, and I type in math problem. Okay, and I hit Enter. I get Shift Enter to go and call it. I do see output as 9, but if I have more than one thing here, it'll only show me one output. And if I do Shift Enter there, again, it only shows me that last output. You'll also notice that in these, every time I run it, this number will change. So like if I call this math problem 2 and I hit Shift Enter, it'll say, hey, you didn't define what that is. So if I go over here and I say math problem 2 and I do space equals, and let's say A, and let's say A to the power of B, and then Shift Enter, I only get the last number that was outputted to that. And so here's my call. This is the output for this instance that was being called. And then you can go down to the next section. You can write more things, and this will be based off of whatever ran last. So for instance, if I type in here and I say math problem equals 5, and I say Shift Enter, and then I type in math problem. I do Shift Enter again. I get 5 there, but if I go back to this one and I hit Shift Enter, that now is the last thing that ran, 10. If I go and I click on this and I do Shift Enter, it'll show me the answer for this one, even though this one says math problem equals 5. But this was ran as the 8th segment of code. This was the 10th run, and this was the 11th run. So this is going after that one. So we can change things. We'll talk about that more in other lessons. Just wanted you to be aware that these numbers do make some significant impacts. We can go and actually clear our cell outputs. I can go up to where it says cell, and I can say current outputs, clear. That's whatever box that I'm currently in, which I'm in this one, so I don't have anything. I can go here, all outputs, clear. It erases all the data for each box, and then I can run that again. Pretty much that's a good overview. If the code seems to stop working for some reason, you can always go to here where it says kernel, and you can say restart and clear output, or restart and run all. That'll run everything in sequential order, so be aware of that.